The worst thing you can do right now is wait for the perfect time to buy. Because here's what nobody's telling you. The perfect time, that's already passed. And the next best time, well, it could be right now. Almost every Houston buyer is asking the same question right now. Should I buy or should I wait? Because on one hand, inventory is up, homes are sitting longer, and buyers have more room to negotiate. And that sounds like an opportunity. But on the other side, interest rates are still making payments feel uncomfortable. Insurance costs, those are higher than many buyers expect. And who wants to buy right before the market shifts again? So those fears make sense. The problem is waiting for the perfect moment can keep you stuck for years. Houston's market isn't the same as it was when buyers waived inspections and rushed into offers just to compete. Now, buyers have more choices and sellers are working harder. Don't get me wrong. Well-priced homes still move, but panic buying has dramatically slowed. So the question isn't just, is now a good time to buy? The right question is, now a good time for you? And that's why I'm making this video. I'm gonna break down what's actually happening in the Houston market, who should seriously consider buying, who should wait, and how to know which side you're on. Because the wrong move isn't buying now. The wrong move, buying before you're ready, or waiting so long that you miss the opportunity that actually fits your life. Before we get into it, I'm Thomas Priddy. I'm a lifelong Houstonian and a Cypress resident. Every day, I help buyers, sellers, and relocators just like you make smarter real estate decisions in Greater Houston and Cypress. If you're trying to decide whether to buy now or wait, all you gotta do is text me. People like you reach out every week because they're relocating, upgrading, buying for the first time, or trying to figure out whether the numbers actually make sense in this market. There won't be any pressure at all. I'm just a text away, and we can have a real conversation about your situation before you make a decision based on headlines, fear, or guesswork. So what's actually happening in Houston right now? Well, Houston has shifted. That doesn't mean the market is crashing. It means buyers are no longer dealing with the same pressure they had a few years ago. Recent HAR reporting shows more inventory across Greater Houston than buyers saw during the early 2020s. With active listings elevated and in many areas, homes are spending more time on the market. Median pricing has been sitting in the mid 300s depending on the month and property type. And that combination creates a very different environment. A few years ago, a buyer had to move fast, compete hard, and make uncomfortable decisions just to stay in the running. Today, many buyers have more time to compare homes, ask for repairs, negotiate concessions, and avoid rushing into something that doesn't fit. That's healthier. It gives people breathing room. Now, that said, more inventory doesn't mean that every house is a deal. Some listings are sitting because sellers overshot their price. Others have issues that the market has already noticed. While some properties are fine, but the buyer pool has become more payment sensitive due to the impact of interest rates, taxes, and insurance on affordability. And that is where buyers need to be careful, because a softer market can create opportunity, but it can also create traps if you assume that everything that sits is automatically negotiable, underpriced, or worth pursuing. And the best buyers right now are being intentional and using the extra inventory to be more selective. Real estate is local, and that sounds simple, but buyers forget it all the time. A national headline might say inventory is exploding in one market, prices are falling in another, or buyers are completely frozen somewhere else. But Houston, it has its own story. We have job growth in industries like energy, healthcare, aerospace, and ports, corporate relocation, and a cost of living that still look different from many large coastal cities. At the same time, the pressure from affordability is real. Buyers are looking harder at their monthly payment, tax rates, insurance, HOA fees, utilities, commute, and flood risk all add up. And that caution has slowed parts of the market. This is why a national answer won't help you, because a buyer in Cypress isn't making the same decision as someone looking inside the loop. While someone relocating from California may view Houston pricing very differently from someone moving up locally. A person with strong savings and a stable job has different concerns than a buyer who needs rates to fall before the payment works. So when people ask whether they should buy now or wait, that answer can't be found in a headline. It has to come from your numbers, your timeline, lifestyle, and specifically which part of Houston you're considering. The biggest mistake I see is thinking that timing the market is more important than timing your life. But a lot of buyers want the perfect combination: lower rates, lower prices, more inventory, less competition, and more negotiating power. While that sounds amazing, those conditions don't come around often. When rates drop, more buyers come back. Stronger demand reduces negotiating room. And inventory in the neighborhoods that people want the most is going to get tight. The chances are a home that's available today won't be there when the monthly payment feels easier later. Now, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean you should rush. It means the market is only one part of the decision and your life matters more. Is your income stable? Does your job feel secure? Can you afford the payment today without relying on a future refinance? How are your reserves after closing? Are you staying long enough for the purchase to make sense? Does the home support the direction your life is headed? Those questions are more useful than predicting rates 6 months from now. Nobody consistently calls the market perfectly, and anyone waiting for a massive crash has already spent years on the sidelines. Buyers who stretched into payments they could barely handle are feeling the pressure too. So both extremes create problems. The goal, it's not perfection, it's stability. A responsible purchase should work with today's numbers. If rates improve later, then refinancing may become a bonus, but it can't be your plan to save the deal. If you're trying to figure out whether you fall on the buy now or wait and prepare side, all you gotta do is text me. I have that conversation with people just like you every day. We're gonna look at your numbers, your timeline, and what you're trying to accomplish. And I'm gonna give you a straight answer, not a sales pitch. For the right buyer, Houston still makes a ton of sense. That's especially true when the payment works today, the timeline is long enough, and the home fits beyond the first year. Houston remains more affordable than many major cities. But buyers out there still need to carefully consider taxes, insurance, and the total monthly cost. You're not just paying the list price. And because of that, a home that can look affordable online can feel very different when the first payment is due. Your life has stability when the full payment works. And a fixed rate mortgage gives you a predictable payment when it comes to the principal and interest portion. But taxes and insurance can change. You can build equity over time, not overnight, and not automatically in every case. But historically, ownership tends to reward people who buy responsibly with a strong strategy. Now, please don't buy just because you want to stop renting. And definitely don't buy because someone told you Houston is always a good deal. The home still needs to make sense. And on top of that, location, condition, flood risk, resale, and how comfortable you are each and every month matter. Today's market can be very attractive when all of those boxes are checked, because buyers have more room to evaluate and negotiate than they did during the boom. I'm definitely not telling you that every buyer should jump in, but I am saying that the right buyer shouldn't overlook the opportunity just because a headline made them feel uncomfortable. I want to be very clear. There are some very real reasons to wait. If the payment only works because you heard rates are going to drop, don't buy yet. That's a terrible roll of the dice, because a refinance should be like a good dessert. It's a nice bonus, but it's not the reason that you're going to choose that restaurant. If your savings are drained at closing, you need to wait. Home ownership in Houston comes with real costs. Insurance can change, repairs happen, and our weather definitely matters. Flood-related expenses could also be part of the conversation depending on the property. And a buyer with no reserves can quickly become stressed. A short timeline is another warning sign. If there's a strong chance you'll move again within 2 or 3 years, that may not give you enough time to offset transaction costs, maintenance, and market movement. Real estate tends to work better when you can give it time. Uncertain at your job? Hit the brakes. Uncertainty around relocating can also affect whether buying is the right move today. There's nothing wrong with waiting when it's done strategically. Waiting passively, that's dangerous. That's how months turn into years and nothing actually improves. If you decide to wait, use the time well and put yourself into a much stronger position. Start with your credit. Even a modest improvement can affect the loan program, your rate, and your monthly payment. Lenders can help you understand where the biggest opportunities are, but getting started before you write an offer is the key. Build your reserves aggressively. The down payment isn't the only thing that matters. Cash after closing is important too. When you own a home with no cushion, every repair can feel like an emergency. What I like to do is suggest practicing the future payment. Let's say your current rent is $2,000 and you're targeting $2,800 for your total cost of ownership per month. Start setting aside the extra $800 every month right now. Pause the video, transfer it into your savings. Actually, that's a terrible idea. Just do it once this video is over, because that's going to do two things. It's going to build your reserves, and it's going to tell you whether you're actually comfortable with that future payment. And that's going to give you more clarity than any headline that's predicting the market. Next, use the waiting period to learn neighborhoods. Drive the commute. Consider tax rates. Does the neighborhood you love have a flood risk? How's the resale? What's going on with that house down the street that just dropped in price? Pay attention to which listings sit and which ones move. The buyer who waits with a plan isn't falling behind. You're preparing. But The buyer who waits without making any changes is counting on something beyond their control to solve their problem. And those buyers aren't the same. I'm going to be honest. If you're considering buying in Houston soon, the opportunity isn't everywhere. Homes that have been on the market longer may offer room for negotiation, which could be great news if the house has an upside. But a property with a bad location, poor condition, or unrealistic pricing isn't automatically a deal just because it's been sitting. Seller concessions can help with closing costs, repairs, or rate buydowns. And builder incentives are great, especially when the overall deal is strong and the community is a fit. A cosmetic fixer-upper may also be worth considering. A home with a dated paint job, older flooring, or a kitchen that needs updating can sometimes add value if major things like the foundation, roof, HVAC, and location are solid. And that's very different from buying a home with expensive hidden problems. Right now, patience matters more than panic. Negotiations matter more than speed. And the best move isn't chasing every discount. It's finding a home with strong fundamentals where the seller has a reason to work with you. That's where today's market can help buyers. You may not need to waive protections. You may have more time to inspect, and a seller may be more open to repairs than they were a few years ago. But that doesn't make the process easy. It makes strategy more important. These days, the Houston market feels slower, but it isn't frozen. Good homes still sell when they're priced right. Buyers are more cautious. They're paying closer attention to the total monthly cost, not just the list price. And that makes for a healthier market. Panic buying has cooled. People are asking better questions. Buyers have a chance to make decisions with more information and less pressure. Sellers have to be more realistic, and that's the market we're in. It's not a crash. It isn't a frenzy. It's balanced, selective, and more dependent on the specific home. The bottom line, don't wait for the perfect market. Don't rush into a bad decision either. And if life is stable, the payment works today, you've got reserves after closing, and plan to stay long enough, buying in Houston can still make sense. But if your finances feel stretched, your job situation is uncertain, your savings would be wiped out, or the payment depends on future rate cuts, waiting is the smarter move. The buyers who do the best, buy responsibly, understand their numbers, and stay patient. They make their decisions strategically, not from fear, pressure, or hype. So if you're trying to figure out which side of this you fall on, all you got to do is text me. My information is in the description. We're going to look at your situation, talk through the Houston market, and figure out if buying now makes sense or whether waiting and preparing puts you in a better position. No pressure. I'm just a text away. If this helped, subscribe for more Greater Houston and Cypress real estate videos where I break down the market, neighborhoods, pricing trends, and the strategy buyers need before making a move. And remember this, don't buy based on pressure. Buy based on preparation. If this video helped you understand whether to buy now or wait, watch this next. I break down the Houston and Cypress areas that are holding buyer attention right now, and why some neighborhoods look good on paper, but can hurt you when it's time to sell. That video is on the screen now. I'll see you in the next one.